1A and 2A schools. They may not offer everything that the big 5A and 6A schools do, but they encourage their students to do all of what they offer. In the spring, that's when most of the extracurricular activities are happening. For dual credit students, you have all of your schoolwork, your extracurriculars, and dual credit work that you have to stay on top of so you can pass your college classes. I am Lilia Weto, a freshman at El Dorado High School, and this year I participated in marching band. I was the basketball manager for the girls. I was in powerlifting, golf, tennis, one-act play, UIL academics, and I'm going to regionals for that, and I am going to state for flute, solo, and ensemble, on top of all honors classes, dual credit, and being part of student council. In March, I was at school for 8 to 9 days, and that's with half days. Limiting extracurricular activities for students in small schools would benefit their grades and their all-around health, most especially for freshmen who don't know their own limits yet. Because 1, it can have a negative effect on their mental health. 2, it can negatively impact their grades, but it could stop their expression through their extracurriculars. But it does have a negative effect on their physical health as well. First, I'm going to explain the negative mental impacts that extracurricular activities have on students and why limiting would help that. Currently, students will overwork themselves with so many different extracurricular activities and start experiencing burnout. With 4 core classes, 2 to 3 electives, and 3+ extracurriculars a day, that's already a whole school day plus homework and some sort of practice or studying for those electives, and then 30 minutes to an hour and a half of practice for those extracurriculars. The students will then have no time for themselves, and it'll start to mentally affect them in a negative way. And they thought joining all of these extracurricular activities would be fun for them, but it has the negative effect instead. Andrew McGee, a senior at El Dorado High School, when asked how he was affected by his extracurriculars when they were all happening at once, stated, quote, high levels of stress and doubt and anxiety, end quote. Lori Dyer, a junior, when asked the same thing, stated, quote, I'm mostly tired, stressed, and anxious, end quote. A March 31st, 2024 article by Tim Walker on NEA Today wrote, quote, too many enrichment activities can result in an overscheduled student, and that can have adverse effects, namely heightened stress and anxiety, end quote. Then it will also have a negative impact on their grades. Students will start missing school from these extracurricular activities. With each extracurricular activity, you tend to miss a day to half a day per week for each one. With 3+, that's already a day and a half, and that could lead up to more and more. That's missing time in school and lessons with the teachers themselves, and you tend to fall behind with that. Andrew McGee, a senior, stated that in his freshman year, he was in 10 extracurriculars. When asked how it affected him, he said, quote, first half was great. It was kind of spread out, and I was not missing too much school, and so I was able to stay up with all of my stuff, his schoolwork. Then, in the spring, there was 2 weeks where I went to school 1 day, and that was terrible. It was very far behind, end quote. Lindsay Parker, a high school science teacher who runs one-act play in UIL academics at El Dorado High School, said, quote, even students who are honor students, their grades tend to go down, end quote. Tim Walker, senior writer at NEA Today, wrote, on average, children in the sample spent about 45 minutes per day on enrichment activities, but that adds up over the typical week, end quote. Proving that they have little time for themselves and their grades tend to fall down because they can't focus on school. One argument brought to my attention was that it could discourage these kids from being able to do what they enjoy. Stephanie Wheeler, an English teacher who coaches literary criticism and copy editing, stated, quote, I think that's what makes small schools so great. It's because you get to go to a big school and you have to try out for everything. So I'm torn between that because it's what makes us so different. It allows students to try just about anything they wanted to. But then, at the same time, you have those students that want to do everything and they end up paying for it, end quote. What we could do instead is limit the amount of days the students are allowed to miss per week. Lindy O'Neill, El Dorado High School counselor, stated, quote, I really like limiting the number of days they could be gone. That it gives the students the autonomy to make choices of what they're doing, and I think it varies from student to student how busy they are, end quote. So the negatives in this situation don't outweigh the positives of limiting extracurriculars. It also takes a physical toll on these students. One week, I was at school a day and a half. That was with skipping a invitational tennis meet so that I could be at school for an extra day. That whole week, I would wake up from around 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. and not get home until 8 to 9:30 p.m. After that, I had to do my makeup work for all those days I missed, and I would tend to have problems sleeping due to the stress and the makeup work I had to do. An August 26, 2022 article from the U.S. News stated that Jessica Baltax, a junior at Angelo Rodriguez High School, said, quote, "Many students go to bed late because of the demands of their coursework and extracurriculars," end quote, proving that students start losing out on sleep and it takes a physical effect on them. This proves that the positives from limiting extracurricular activities will help so much. In conclusion, limiting the amount of extracurricular activities at small schools would help their grades and all around health, especially for freshmen who don't know their own personal limits yet. First, it takes a mental effect on them with so many, and it hurts their grades, but it could limit their expression. But if we limit the amount of days itself that they can miss, it helps in that situation. But finally, being in so many extracurricular activities, it could have a negative impact on their physical health. So all in all, limiting the amount of extracurricular activities students can do will help them. End of the day, the well-being of the student is our top priority. While we care about extracurricular activities and they are valuable, they can burn out the students when it's meant to enrich them. By setting a limit and helping find a balance between fun and academics, we can help do this without the sacrifice of their education. Thank you.